Perhaps one of the most startling statistics for Utah for our youth is that for youth ages 10 to 17, suicide is the second leading cause of death in Utah. And I think that's really speaks when we think of the deaths on the freeway and other kinds of accidental deaths. Suicide still is right up there at the top. So it is one that we need to address. Suicide is a serious condition in Utah. For the state in general, we're always in the top 10 of all the states with our suicide rate. For adults, I think we run about 8th, and for youth, we're the 5th highest state for suicide rate among youth ages 10 to 17 years old. So it's a significant health problem, community problem. It is a life and death issue. The state of Utah, interestingly, leads the country in the percentage of people who have thoughts of suicide. At about 6.3% of our population thinking about suicide is compared to the lowest state, which is more around 3%. So ours is almost double. There is no real understanding as to why the suicide rates are higher here, but we know that they are. In southwest Utah, we are the 5th highest region in the state of about 13 regions for our suicide rate. And so that means that across the country, our region is probably one of the higher ones in the country. And so statistically, it's a major issue for us, and more importantly, for the people whose lives are affected by suicide, it's a pain and a difficulty that no one can imagine unless they've been through it. And so it represents something that we should address. Now, perhaps the most important thing about it is that it is a problem that we can do something about. It is preventable. It is very treatable. And this is one of the big challenges for us is that at Southwest Behavioral Health Center, we know that the bulk of the suicides that occur within our region are people who are not in treatment as compared to those who are in treatment, which means the people who get into treatment, we are able to help prevent suicide. But our challenge is the people who are not getting treatment. And we think there are a lot of reasons for that. One is that suicide and thoughts of suicide, there's a lot of stigma about it. People think of it as being some kind of characterological flaw, or that somehow they're failing in life. And so they don't want to bring it forward. They don't want to share it. They're ashamed of it. And so there's a lot of stigma that is attached to the idea of someone thinking about suicide, and so they don't come forward. But, interestingly, almost all of the people who make attempts at suicide, they do indicate in some way that they are struggling prior to making that attempt. And that's true of youth and adults, and probably more true of youth, that as they are thinking about these things and being plagued by these thoughts and thinking that their only solution to the problems they have is suicide, they say things and they do things which are clues that this is an issue for them. And if someone is trained and is perceptive about what those clues are, they can intervene and we can get them into treatment. And like I said, if we get them into treatment, our chances of success are just much, much greater of being able to prevent that suicide. So that's why Southwest, along with a lot of other community partners, have been heavily involved in trying to get as many people as we can trained in a program called QPR, or Question, Persuade, Refer. The idea here is to get as many people out in the community who are in contact with these youth and adults that might be able to catch those clues and then know what to say to them and how to help them get into help. And we know that it works. We know that if people see that and they ask questions, people do respond. In most cases, they're relieved that someone would ask them, would care enough to ask. And as a result, then we can get them into treatment, and like I said, if we get them into treatment, we can usually prevent suicide from occurring. We've made some real progress in getting this QPR program rolled out into our 5-county area of southwest Utah. We now have over 60 trainers who can do QPR training to groups anywhere in the 5-county area, and as trainers, we are glad to come to you wherever and whenever you would like us to come. We do groups of up to 30 people at a time. It only takes a couple of hours to do that QPR training, and we have over 2,500 or so people trained. It's been about 600 people a year since we started, and we are anxious to train as many as we can. Our goal is to get to 50,000 in a 10-year period. So we're well on our way to that. We believe if we do that, if we get this large number of our population, scout leaders and teachers and people in service organizations and in businesses trained, then we'll have enough people that'll be around to see those clues when someone is thinking about suicide, that then they can act and get in. If anybody is interested in a QPR training, all they need to do is get hold of Southwest Behavioral Health Center and contact us, and we will set it up and come to you. And it is free. It comes at no cost, and we provide you with some material as part of that, and we even provide free gun locks as a part of that. And there's significant evidence that just by restricting access to lethal means, that reduces suicide as well.